Hello, and thank you for taking time to watch this video today. We are talking about how to track donations. This video is for treasurers, but honestly, it could be helpful for team captains or for coordinators as well to get a little more insight as to the funds collection process. I also want to give this webinar video a little subtitle of tips while tracking and counting funds for your crop hunger walk. My name is Rachel Kessel. I'm a community engagement specialist with Church World Service, and I'm based out of Michigan. First, before we start, I want to emphasize, which this is included in communications from Church World Service and your community engagement specialist, but I want to emphasize in this video as well, the importance of sending funds early and often to Church World Service. The sooner these funds are received by our organization, the sooner our neighbors are helped, whether that's those in the Church World Service programs or those that are part of your local agencies. It's also the sooner that the walk is wrapped up for you, the sooner that individuals in your community can know how the walk went. And if there are some funds that trickle in later on, that's okay. We can adapt the report, but just don't wait to send those funds in, especially if you're just waiting on one check or a few checks, regardless of how much that check is for. So just be sure to send in several batches, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. I want to start by kind of walking through the chronological process, I should say, of collecting funds for your walk. So when you are communicating with your team captains, with your walkers, be sure to give clear directions on your preferences for funds collection. Every walk does it differently. Some walks collect money on walk day. Some walks do it 2 weeks later on one specific day. Some say drop it at our church office sometime this week. Be sure that it's clear to your team captains and your walkers when you'd like the funds by. And we all know there's usually that one walker or one church that's still collecting funds, but try to do your best to encourage them to start fundraising earlier to meet that time that you would like those funds to be turned in. But ultimately, they can always turn those funds in later on as well. As you're collecting these donations, especially if you're collecting it over a longer period of time, like a week or 2 weeks, it's important to have some sort of tracking system as funds are coming in. Overall, with this process, I want to say, do what system works best for you as an individual, as this walk's treasurer. Each treasurer is different. Some prefer to use technology and online. Some prefer to use paper. Whatever works best for you, just be sure that this process is something that is doable for you, understandable for you, and know that your community engagement specialist and CWS are here to help you with whatever process you choose. All of my walks do it in a totally different way. Each treasurer is so different. So don't be afraid to adapt a system that works best for you, especially if you're a new treasurer and maybe the treasurer before you had been around for 15 or plus years and they had their own system. It's okay to maybe adapt that to make it work for you in a different way. But overall, it is recommended to have some sort of system. And like I said, make sure that's clear to your team captains and walkers what you would like from them. Some ideas for tracking funds as they're coming in. Keep a simple spreadsheet or a checklist of some sort so that you make sure that all of the teams that receive team captains packets and that are participating in the walk turn those funds in. And if so you can follow up with them later on if funds don't get turned in, or you just kind of know where you're at as you're collecting. Some important things to note is to have very accurate and organized records. Overall, it's great for you as an individual to know, where you're at, but it also helps for others to be able to interpret, whether that's the staff at Church World Service, the coordinator with your walk, the team captains with your walk. If you have someone that assists you with this process as a treasurer, just make sure that it's really accurate and organized so that we can be sure that everything is accounted for and we can work together to make sure that everything gets wrapped up. As I mentioned at the beginning, Send funds in early and often to Church World Service. You don't have to wait until all the funds are in to send one batch to Church World Service. In fact, we recommend that you don't, especially in the case of, someone's great aunt who sent a check in, a few months before the walk. They're waiting for that, watching their bank statement for that check to be cashed. So if you receive that, count those funds, submit them to Church World Service. We do send more than one remittance envelope from CWS in your treasurer's packet for this reason. We hope that you'll send them in several batches, often and early, and we can always send you more remittance envelopes as needed. And our team at CWS Elkhart is so on top of it. I'm sure that remittance envelope will make its way to you quickly. This also helps your walk funds be accounted for. So it helps keep your CWS staff member updated, your community updated as to where things are at. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it helps our program participants be able to receive that help even sooner. And specifically with your local agencies, we wait until a certain percentage of the money from your walk is received to start sending checks. We typically send 1 or 2, maybe 3 local agency checks. So the sooner that money is turned in, the sooner they can get their checks, especially if you're a fall walk, the sooner you get those in. Our goal is to have that money to those agencies, hopefully before the holidays, which is such a big time of need for so many agencies. I also, on behalf of the CWS fantastic funds processing team, they are mighty, but they are also somewhat small. They're fantastic. And they are processing funds from hundreds of walks at one time during walk season, especially in the fall. So those smaller batches and more frequent is easier for them if they're not getting all these lump sums at once from your walks. So if you can send them in multiple batches, it helps them to be able to process things more smoothly and allows you to know where your walk's at sooner. Another note on funds processing is to be sure that you follow up on a bad check. Make sure you know which team captain turned it in, and they can help track down that walker or that donor, or maybe you even know them if it's their name's on the check. But make sure you do this before it's mailed to Church World Service so any adjustments can be made. And we want to be sure that if an individual wants to donate towards that cause of, the programs of Church World Service and your local agencies, we want to be sure that those funds are able to be used in the ways that they're desiring. So please be sure to follow up on any checks that have any issues or discrepancies. I have mentioned gifts such as matching gifts, retirement gifts, or just direct giving to CWS. So you may be wondering, okay, how does this work? Especially if you're a newer treasurer. So majority of the time, these retirement checks and matching gifts are sent directly to CWS and Elkhart from the organization. So because of that, it's really important that you let your community engagement specialist know of any direct giving to CWS that you know of. Typically, like I said, they're sent directly to CWS, and your community engagement specialist does have access to seeing when these funds are received. So we can confirm when it's been received. We can also even send you a report that says the date when it's been received and all of that. Another thing is sometimes a company will send this donation in, and they may not always include the walk or the team name or the walker name. So it's really important that you know not only that that donation is being made, but try to figure out the amount for that donation. So once that is sent to CWS, we can be sure that it's sent to your walk, your team, your walker. We can make sure that it is allocated in the correct way, especially if you can let us know before that's received. Our funds processing team will keep an eye out for it, and they'll make a note, and they're fantastic. They really don't skip a beat. So they'll be able to allocate that check for the correct walk. It just really ensures that that process goes smoothly and is efficient. There is a whole separate video on this topic, which is the importance of a treasurer report. So I really encourage you to watch that. But the cliff notes on this topic is these treasurer's reports really are important for your community and for Church World Service. So they allow us to know the top supporters and teams and walks overall for reports that we run. They also help your community to know about the work of Church World Service. They help for budgeting processes. But really just be sure to complete a treasurer's report and send it in. Again, there's more information about this on a separate video, including, how to do a treasurer's report. So make sure you watch that. A few more things here, and then we'll be done. But please be sure to keep your community engagement specialist updated as you go. Especially, if you're doing that best practice that's recommended of sending funds in early and often, let us know, hey, I sent in a batch on Friday for this amount. So we can kind of know how your walk's doing, help assist you in any way, help notify Elkhart of the incoming funds, or just to kind of keep an eye out for it to see where your walk's at. So we love to be able to keep updated on that. And excuse me, I'm fighting off a little cold right now. We don't necessarily need to know every single detail of your process, but it is important to keep us updated, especially if there's any questions or any direct giving to CWS. We want to be here to support you and be part of that process. We don't want to micromanage. We want to support you and we want to help you. So keeping us in the loop just really helps ensure that that process goes well, and it eases the burden for you as well. We're here to help. I'm saving the best note for last. Please, please, please make sure that you do not mail cash to CWS. It is noted in the treasurer's packet, on the walker envelopes, on the team captain envelopes. But we love cash donations. They're great. But please don't send them in the mail. Be sure to use a cash replacement check for any cash that's received. It's ideal for each walker to write this cash replacement check. So let's say I get $75 worth of cash donations from my friends and family as a walker with the Crop Hunger Walk. I would then write that check out to CWS. But the most important thing is to make sure that you note it is a cash replacement check in the memo line. It's even more ideal for a team captain to write this cash replacement check, and least ideal for a treasurer, but whatever system works for you is okay. Just please, please, please be sure to note that it is a cash replacement check on the memo line. The biggest reason why this is so important is so it does not look like a donation from the individual writing the check or organization writing the check to CWS. It's just really important for funds processing, especially when it comes time for CWS to send tax statements. If you have a team captain that wrote a cash replacement check for $1,200, we want to make sure that we're not sending them a tax statement saying that they made a donation for that amount. So please, please, please be sure to communicate this with your team captains and your walkers. It is noted on all of the CWS materials, but please be sure to highlight this in your communications that we talked about for best practices on collecting funds. Now, I will end by saying this. Thank you. Thank you for what you do as a treasurer. Thank you because this helps so many individuals in our global and local communities. Your work does not go unnoticed. It is so appreciated. And know that your community engagement specialist in Church World Service as an organization and all of our staff are here to support you. We're all in this for the mission. We're in this for those that it helps serve and those whose lives are changed because of it. So thank you for contributing your gifts and talents in this way to ensuring that more of our neighbors have the help that they need.